All right, the next step on making these aprons, we've cut a tenon, we've 45 the ends. There's very little left to do. On the regular 3 aprons, it needs a groove in here. This groove is to attach the tabletop fastener, which holds the tabletop on. Real simple cut. It's just simply an 1/8 inch wide groove, which is how thick the blade is for the most part, a 1/4 of an inch deep. So if you take a look at the plan here, there's a little detail showing you, here's the end view of the apron, and then that circle with a D in it shows that there's a detail view, and it's detail D right here, and it's showing this area enlarged, and you can see it's a 1/8 inch saw kerf, it says, 1/2 inch down from the edge, a 1/4 of an inch deep. Real simple. Okay, and we're going to do this right here on the table saw. So since it's a cut that's not going all the way through, I cannot use the guard because the riving knife goes up too high and will be in the way. So we're just going to simply switch to the regular riving knife. Again, I'm going to have my hand in here, so definitely going to unplug it, pop out the throat plate, pull out the guard, and I'm going to switch to the riving knife. Put that down in there. And the riving knife is not taller than the blade. It's just a fraction lower. So now I can put this in here and make the cut. And the riving knife will be in place for safety reasons, but it will not be in the way. And again, always make sure that the throat plate is nice and even with the table all the way around. So I need that to be a 1/4 of an inch high. Lost my ruler. I'll use the one out of my pocket. Oh, here it is. Never mind. I'm going to set this so it's a 1/4 of an inch high. Power's off. And I like to come up on the measurement, so I go a little lower and then bring it up to a 1/4 of an inch, which is about there. Okay, and then it needs to be a 1/2 inch over. Blade height is not super critical on this. It's just got to be deep enough for this clip to slip in there. So the 1/4 of an inch height, you know, shoot for having to be right, but it doesn't have to be like micro perfect. And then 1/2 inch before to the point where the groove begins. From the top of the apron to the beginning of the groove, the top of the apron is going to be against the fence, so it's from the fence to the beginning of the blade then, where that 1/2 inch has to be. So that's going to be right there, 1/2 inch. All right, so I don't need an auxiliary fence because I don't have the fence up against the wood, and it's a rip cut, so I don't need a miter gauge, and it's just the 3 regular aprons. So I'm going to take my front one and put that aside for a minute, and it's just these. Now again, I got to make sure that word in is facing down, because if I make the groove on the other side, I'm going to have a groove on the outside where you're going to see it, and that's not good. The groove is going to happen. Now right now there's really no top and bottom on these aprons because the shoulders are the same. So if there's a defect or something that you want to put up near the top where you won't see it so much, because if you look at the table, the bottom edge is a lot more visible than the top edge. So I take a quick look, and if there's a defect that I want to put up near into this hidden corner, I'll put it near the top and make my groove up there. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly arrange my boards before I start. It makes a lot more sense to do it that way. So this has a funny knot, so I'm going to put that to the top, and I think I'll put that knot near the top as well. So I'm going to make these cuts just like this. I'm going to use a push stick. I'll put these on the safe side of the fence, and I'll do it just like this. Oh, I got to plug it back in. I get so excited to get my work done, I forget to plug it in. There we go. Put the power on, let the saw wake up. And I'm pretty confident on this, so I'm going to make one cut and just give it a quick double check, but I think it's going to be just fine. Do a quick check. 1/2 inch over. 1/4 of an inch deep. Oh, right on the money. I love it. Okay, so we'll just do the other 2, and then we'll be good to go. Again, make sure that inside surface is facing down. That's really important. My word in is facing down. and my least desirable edge is up to the top. And I'm good. Now, one other thing that's left is on the front apron, we need to cut these apart. Now, I usually like to sand these all first, but I'm going to show you how to make the cut now. So pretend for a minute that I sanded this, and maybe I even stained it. I could wait till the very end if I want to. I don't like to cut these apart too soon because people tend to lose all the little parts. But you can do it now. But I want to, since we're at the saw, take the extra couple of minutes to do this. The size of those rails is on the next page, and they are 3/4 of an inch wide. And you can see that right here. The top rail is 3/4 and the bottom rail is 3/4. See it right there and there. So that's how wide these have to be. Real simple cut, it's just a rib cut. The problem is with the guard's so thick, it can't get the fence close enough. So you're going to have to do this with a riving knife and no guard. So it's kind of like working without a net. But especially considering we have a saw-stop saw, that kind of gives us a little extra precaution. And we're going to set this here, and I'm going to use the scale on the fence here to get this to 3/4. And I am going to measure it with a ruler, so I'm going to pull the plug real quick just to double check the setup. That should be 3/4 of an inch. And it is 3/4. Okay. My blade height should be about 1/4 of an inch above. That's good. And then again, my push stick is kind of fat. It's not going to fit through there. So I do have a thinner push stick that I'll use that will fit through there nicely and not get cut by the saw blade. Okay, so we'll plug this back in and we'll cut these off. Now, you want to cut one from the top and one from the bottom. So start this up. I'm going to use this push stick to hold it tight. This is just a regular rip cut. It's just a little narrow. Push that all the way through, and then very carefully bring this back around, and then I'm going to turn it around and cut it from the other edge. Again, I like to do this after I sand because it's a lot easier to sand one apron than to sand all these little separate parts. But while we were at the saw, I figured it was smart to show you. And the nice thing is when you put this all back together, this matches. So all the grain's going to match and everything's going to be nice. Now let's just take a quick walk over to the table for a second. I want to show you what's going to happen with these parts. These two rails are going to be the top and bottom apron. The one without any shoulders is going to be your top rail. The one with the small shoulder will be the bottom rail. And the piece that's left over eventually is going to be your draw face. You'll notice the draw box is made out of, 4 pieces of wood, and then this face is attached to it, and that's going to be this piece. Excuse me. All we have to do is go to the chop saw later and just cut those 2 tenons off, and we'll probably custom fit it a little bit. Excuse me, so the width is correct and the spacing is right, and then we'll just put a little decorative edge in there, and that'll be it. So that is how you cut things apart and make that little groove on the back on the aprons. And the aprons, at this point, joinery is done.